ringside seat. Who is here for the first time? Well, not as many as I thought. But anyway, you've missed a hell of a lot. But we'll start again in the autumn. And next week is our last guest, Kirsty Young. And what we do here is to bring extraordinary people who've led extraordinary lives. And the idea is for you, the public, for just £6 or 10 quid, to interact. So later, you'll be able to ask lots of questions. I'm only going to have a conversation with Mario for about 20 minutes. And the only proviso is that you ask an intelligent question or an awkward one. The awkward one will always score. But Mario can tell you to shut up, and we'll pass you on and make you look like an idiot.
How welcoming you are, huh?
Harry Humphrey always tells me you victimize two people in the audience, and everybody will laugh at them. So be careful.
Be ready.
Mario, were you ever paparazzo chasing after celebrities?
No, because when I started working, we didn't really have that sort of culture of following. I mean, it's very interesting because I once bought the work from a photographer, Gary Lebeau, as is his name, and he used to do the paparazzo thing back in the day when it wasn't about being a paparazzi, it was about stalking celebrities, and they would go to their homes at night and wait till they come out. And I have a collection of photographs of him at home that is all the Marlene Dietrich, the Jackie Kennedy, that sort of paparazzi that I admired. But when I started being a photographer, we didn't really have celebrities. I don't know, I looked at Vogue. I would buy Vogue magazine. I know that there are some students here today from the Condé Nast School. A lot, thank you for the support, Zoe. But I remember buying magazines when the girls that I was obsessed with would be appeared in the cover. Marie Helvin, a girl called Kirsty that then went to follow and marry another photographer, Toscani. But I never really had that thing about being desperate about, I don't know, we didn't have that culture. I think it's very much today that.
But now paparazzi will follow you. I mean, how do you react to them?
Well, they don't really follow me because they can't really sell the picture like a Kate Moss picture. So, you know.
Well, they follow you and they get Kate Moss.
And anyhow, I always say to the celebrities, why don't you just stop, give them the picture, and then they leave you alone? Because that's what I do. I stop, I make sure that, did you get it, did you get it, did you get it, and then they leave you alone.
But do you think the culture is a good one or a bad one?
Well, I don't know. I don't think it's about looking up too much at people, because then it makes everybody feel little. And I think that the whole point is to elevate yourself, your belief in yourself is the most important thing. So if you are too busy following everybody else, when do you ever think of you? I haven't got the time because I have to think of myself a lot.
Well, you've photographed most famous faces in the world. What do you feel in future when there are robots and artificial intelligence, where they might be made to look any way they want to make them look? I mean, would you be fascinated without that human natural instinct and interaction and spontaneity for which you're so famous? Do you think you might be interested in photographing robots? And
I don't know. I mean, the robots seem to be taking shapes that are very human, so maybe I might be fooled by that. But I am quite obsessed by people, skin, meat. I don't know, you know, like human beings. That's what really
if you look
turns me
around
on.
here,
So many good-looking people.
If I were to force you to photograph one person, who would that be?
God, the choice is difficult.
Yeah, you're all bloody ugly. Choose one.
You know, I'm going to tell you, this is very interesting because I learned my profession on some beauty, what do you call it, values or norms. You know, we all aim for this beauty. But I'm finding out today that beauty is such a funny thing because you can look at anybody and find them beautiful, you know. Even the mirror, I look sometimes and think, not bad. You know, but really, I think that it's all to do with who is looking and what you're looking at. Because I've just done a job where it was all real people, normal shapes, and I found everybody amazing. I was obsessed with them.
But I'd be so interested, just choose a face.
Should I choose your son to see how we embarrass
He's
him?
his family, he's disqualified. Who would you choose? And would it be a female face?
No,
or
look,
a
I
male
would
face?
know exactly who I would choose. I see a lady here with blonde, curly hair and glasses.
Can you stand up?
You look great.
Yeah, go and stand up. You got a contract.
You look a bit like me when I was a bit younger. Only my hair was bigger.
The extraordinary thing is that your huge success came really with the rejuvenation of Gucci, with Tom Ford and whatever. And I mean, Anna Wintour has said that this fashion to photography is a very difficult thing because is the merging of art and commerce. Would you agree with that?
Totally. I think that at the end of the day, a fashion photographer's job is to entice people to go and get out of their houses and buy clothes. That's what we do, we sell clothes. I mean, we show clothes, and by showing clothes, we create desire, and the people should go and buy the clothes. I used to look at magazines when I was young. I looked a lot at GQ magazine, and now I understand that I always liked the little photos, and my tailor in Peru would say to me, but how do you know that the back of this jacket is like that? And I said, I know, because for it to fall like this in the front, it has to be like this in the back. But imagine, I mean, now I realize that the little photographs are the photos that are not advertisers and that probably are not the most commercial outfit, but the weirdest outfit. And of course, I wanted to wear the weirdest outfit. But I was really consumed by desire. I wanted to have that outfit. And I think that that's what fashion photographers do. So if you don't accept that our job is associated to commerce, then you are doing the wrong job.
So effectively, you used art to entice and attract what you don't actually reveal. Perhaps not the whole jacket, but just the desire of
Well,
wearing
I
the
think
jacket.
art in general is there to make you see things differently, or to look at things that you're not looking, or to push the boundaries in our perception or the way we see life. That's what artists do. They make me, I collect fine art, and I'm constantly having to look at things differently because they are showing me that it's not how I thought. Maybe it's like this, maybe it's like this. And I think fashion is another way of doing that, We show people how they could dress. Dressing is the most basic way of expression in anybody of us. Everybody gets up in the morning and decides, I'm wearing this and I'm wearing this. And that's our way of expressing ourselves, our feeling, how we think, how we feel, what we want to communicate. Do we want to seduce? Do we want to make people laugh? Do we want to entertain? All that is done by how we dress. So fashion photography is about showing people other ways of communicating through their dress. And often I am surprised that there are still new ways of interpreting clothes or looks or communicating them.
Would you feel a bit stuck if you were on a nudist beach?
Well, I have found the nudist beach quite difficult because you're obliged to look at things that you might not want to look. But then again, I am the first one to say, ooh, let's stop. I am obsessed with nudity. Bodies, I don't know if it's because I'm Latin America, I don't know if because I grew up in Peru and we weren't supposed to be too naked or change with other people, but I don't know, I was curious about everybody's body. I wanted to see everybody naked, and it's really funny that I haven't been able to get rid of that. And Kate Winslet once gave me a prize, and in her introductory speech, she said to me that I arrive at the studio, I look at her, and they are waiting to hear what I'm going to say about the look, because of course I always have something that I don't like, the hair, the makeup, the clothes, the shoes, the length. And she said, yeah, she looks good, but wouldn't it be better naked? And she's like, Mario, we're selling clothes.
She does look naked. She does look very well naked.
Very well, yeah.
It's that voluptuous look. I mean, I never thought that she would actually match DiCaprio, but she did well. Now, the other obsession you have is you work very hard. You have said, I quote, I work 14 hours a day, every day, and most Saturdays and Sunday. I mean, do you still work as hard as that?
You know, anything that I do, I want to excel at doing it. Look at this room, it's full of people. So what am I going to do? Sit here and sulk and be like difficult and, you know, no, I want to impress, I want to, you know, and that's what I do with my life. I want to do whatever I do the best I can, and that comes with hard work. There's no secret, you know. And I remember there's an editor, Grace Conington, that you all probably know because she's English and very famous at the moment. And she would always, I would go out to a show and like a show, and she would say, oh my God, they didn't work enough. And, you know, I didn't really realize it then, and I realize it now. Work shows. If you put 10 hours, it shows, and if you put 14, it shows. And if you put 3, it shows too.
Well, I know you're telling the truth, and I've just done some arithmetic for you. Now, assuming that you only became famous when Gucci came along in 1997 and so forth, that's 20 years. As Linda Evangelista wouldn't get out of bed for 10 grand a day, you must be worth at least that, which means every year you've earned 3.65 million, and in 20 years you're now worth 73 million. Have you got 73 million in your bank?
I do.
Well, there it is. It's an underestimation.
Well, no, you know, it's very interesting. I mean, I don't know if you all people know how this business works, but basically, we do editorial, which is the magazines, in order to be noticed. Magazines don't pay anything whatsoever. And in a lot of the cases, a photographer is expected to pay if you want something. You know, I was trained by the late Franca Sozzani, who passed away this year when she was at Perlouis and Lay, before she went to Vogue. These were the young Condé Nast magazines. And she taught me one thing. She would say to me, I have 20 pages, I have $4,000 budget. And that is your fee included, and you can do with that money anything you want. You can fly the girl from New York if you want a girl, you can book a location, you can, you know, it's up to you how you use the money. And $4,000 doesn't get very far, so I had to beg everybody, lend me your house, please lend me your, oh, can your daughter model for free, you know. And the interesting thing is that, yeah, we work a lot, but not every single day is paid. But the funny thing is that those unpaid jobs often are the most exciting jobs because we're free. And freedom is a lot, it's worth a lot more than the, how many million was that?
73.
73 million. Well, I don't think I would ever have that money because I'm the biggest spender there is. So, you know.
What are you most extravagant on?
I love inviting. I think that...
Do you want to invite all these people for dinner tonight?
Of course, you're paying tonight. That's great.
Stop.
But yeah, I don't know. I think that sharing is a very important thing. I came to live here back in the 70s with 3 friends of mine. And I have to say, if it wasn't for them, I probably wouldn't be here because my parents sent me money for a while. Then they stopped sending me money. They started sending money to a friend of mine. And because I kept him going for the time I received the money, he said to me, I will pay for all the development of your photography. At the time we had to do film and develop it, and it was expensive. And if it wasn't for him that did that for 4 months, I probably wouldn't be here. In London, yeah.
Yeah, because when you first came to London, you found it very liberating. I mean, you were able to dress the way you want without being ostracized, as you were in Lima. And you just found the city an incredibly exciting place.
Yeah, unbelievable. And I have to say that I was very lucky. My parents sacrificed a lot of things to get me here to study. And the moment came when they couldn't afford to keep me here anymore, and I stayed. And if we talk about sharing, my friend Lucinda Chambers was the editor of British Vogue, and they had luncheon vouchers at the time for lunch. And of course, I showed every single day at 1 o'clock. Hi, what are you doing? Going to eat with your luncheon vouchers. Great.
40p, I remember.
Well, there were not a lot, but that egg sandwich went through a long time of the day. Half of it.
You, however, when you were young, wanted, like me at the time, to be a priest.
But the terrible thing about, well, no. Carry on.
What is a terrible thing? We want to hear terrible things.
The reasons why I wanted to be priest weren't, no, it's not true. I do like the work that I did with the priest at school, and I find that I have found a way of doing it, which is helping. I love helping people in need, and I try to do as much as that is. But there were other things. I like running as an acolyte and see the dress moving. I don't know why, I just like the idea of the movement. one of the things. And then they had cars, many cars, the priest. And I always thought, wow, how exciting to have lots of cars to choose from to go driving. So my reasons weren't all pure and saintly, but...
Going back to your photography, it looks as if, it looks to me, that what marks your success is your absolute instinct to detect that instantaneous spontaneity. I mean, I've seen you at work a little bit, and I've seen obviously all your works and so forth, but you always catch that moment. Would you say that that was your forte? Is not to conceive of the poser initially, necessarily, but to act at the moment of the shoot?
Well, even when it's not a real moment, I for sure make it be a moment, because I believe that you can perfect something, but perfection feels boring. So if you just break it, because what is the most beautiful moment? I mean, Kate Moss has been my inspiration for many years, and sometimes I go out with her at night, and there's that moment. She lifts up from the chair to go to the bathroom or whatever, and she looks unbelievable. That dress is sort of falling. Everything feels like elevated. And that moment only exists in that moment. The moment she's sitting, maybe it's not that magical anymore. And I do try and make all my photographs be as if I happen to walk through a room and just, oh, I captured it. But of course, to get that is like
I'm sorry she's not here. She says she doesn't want to come to steal your thunder, but she'll be at dinner afterwards. I mean, that is something that you're so good at. And now, you now feel, having gone from Lima and then having had a successful career in London and all the international city, you want to go back to your roots, Boomerang. And you've started, as I was there, opening of your Mate Gallery in Lima. Tell us something about that, because that's not just an art gallery, but a foundation of yours that you want to perpetuate.
Well, I feel that, like you're doing here, you're giving back to your community. I have a very big longing to go back home. I don't know why. It's really funny, even when I have to talk about Peru, I get like, you know, that knot in your throat when you don't know where you're going to burst out crying. But anyhow, there is something, that I feel I have to give my country, because a lot of what I am, comes from there, my taste, my exposure, and I feel that I was lucky that my parents could send me here to study. Not everybody can, so I'm trying to take to Peru things that help people open their minds, because you know, I am in a business that is very open and accepts many things, but in Peru when I was there, I couldn't take public transport because I like to wear platform shoes and flower trousers and afro hair and t-shirts mid-drift. So, I mean, when I think of it, I must have looked pretty weird. But, you know, people can control it. They can help it. You are like that and you cannot help it. So I want to be able to help the way Peru or my community think, so that they can be more open, more accepting, more tolerant, which is what I found in this country, which made me stay here. And I thought that a museum culture would be the good way, because, like I was saying earlier, art helps you see things in different ways, it presents you things in different ways, and it makes it easier for people to accept through aesthetics and through beauty or through ideas.
Well, your country is a bit of a freak country. I mean, you had a Japanese prime minister, for God's sake, for about 10 years, and he turned out to be a complete corrupt.
Well, I don't know really. I wouldn't accuse him completely, because he did help the country. Before he came into power, the country was ridden with terrorism, and he managed to control that. I mean, sadly, all countries, I mean, we're seeing at the moment that there is no exception. We used to think that the first world was different, but actually the world is full of people. It's sad that people can just steal a little bit and then give the majority to a country. There seems to be no end to the stealing nowadays. No? So, and he did fall for that, sadly, but he was good at one moment, you know. He changed Peru at the beginning.
Always takes an Eastern Oriental to do that. Is it true, or what did you think when Anna Wintour asked you to go and do her passport photograph with a child?
Oh, well, I started with Anna back in the day. She was one of the first that believed in me. Believe it or not, she was a fashion editor originally. And the first job she gave me was a very ambitious job because I didn't even have an assistant at the time, and she wanted me to do pictures of different dances, tango, waltz, salsa, all different dances. And so she said to me, I want every picture in a different location. And so for tango, I thought that you could go to this hall. So I went to look at the location. The location was bigger than this and higher than this, and I never even had a light in my hands. And I thought, what am I going to do? But she did believe in me at first, and she brought me into Vogue when she was creative director. She wasn't the editor-in-chief. The editor-in-chief hated me, obviously, because she felt that she was the next editor-in-chief coming in. And at that time, she had her first child, and I used to go to her house. She would feed me. As you can see, eating has always been a thing with me. And she would feed me, and so I would go to her house, and when she had her baby, she said, oh, you know, I need to do a passport. Do you think that you could take a picture? So I did. And he just married. Well, no, he's just had his first child. It's amazing how quick life goes. I think he's 28 or 30.
Is that the only passport photograph you've done?
Yes. Apart from my own.
Oh, no, you did your own?
Yes, and they did send me back telling me that it was too glamorous or something like that, and that I had to do a machine one. And I was like, why? I looked perfectly retouched. No, I love it that not long ago, an embassy told me that I had to do, they saw me, the American embassy. I went, took my pictures, of course it was beautiful, and they asked me to bring another picture because the guy couldn't recognize me. I was like, what do you mean?
Well, Americans are blind, but there it is. All right, look, because there's so many of you, I want you to have a chance. Who would like to ask a question? All right, just wait until the microphone comes to you.
Hello, is there...
By the way, before I start, don't ask a tedious question like who is your favorite model or who is your favorite shoot. I mean, these are excruciatingly infantile questions, okay? Or what inspired you to be a photographer? That is the most ridiculously simplistic question which cannot be answered.
Is there anything that you would like to change about the fashion industry?
Well, you know, I cannot change anything because life is about change, and it carries on changing. I mean, if I tell you how it was when I started to how it is today, it is a far away world, and I'm constantly having to reimagine. I mean, I think that when I started, it was difficult being a Peruvian and breaking into a world that was made of English, French, Americans, Italians, maybe some German. And I see today that opportunities are more open, and that's what I would like to make it possible for everybody to have a chance, no?
Yeah, next.
Color or black and white?
Color. Yeah. Even though I'm desperately trying to look for what black and white pictures of me because they seem to be cooler or more interesting, but I am a color photographer.
Yeah, in fact,
I don't see in black and white, it's terrible.
I mean, you obviously admired greatly when you first arrived people like Cecil Beaton and Norman Parkinson, and you saw a lot of black and white and so forth. And I read that you suddenly thought you need to bring color, more and more color to what you want to do.
Well, I think that it's very important to find out who you are because you cannot be somebody else. I admire all the photographers that did black and white. I wish I was like them, but I'm not. I don't see like that. And the terrible thing is that I don't see gloom as a great thing either. I love joy, and joy in our business is considered a bit naff and a bit commercial or whatever. I mean,
remind me, the famous...
Maybe that's what I would like to change in the fashion business, that positivity becomes the cool, groovy thing, and I would be really successful.
Remind me, the famous photograph of you with Gucci with the G on the pubic hair, was that black and white or color?
Color, of course. You have to see the grace of color.
I saw it and I've forgotten. I apologize. I think it was blue, wasn't it?
It is so interesting. You know, the world turned around to say that that was a really dangerous picture, and some people didn't want to publish. And I was like, it's hair. What's the big deal?
Well, you don't want to eat a hair ball, I can tell you that. Yeah.
What's that? What's that all about?
A hair ball. I mean, sometimes the expression in English is that I would rather eat my hair than have dinner with my mother-in-law. That's pretty bad. But if a hair ball is one which has accumulated over the years. That is 100 times worse than eating your hair. So anyway, you Peruvian can now learn this metaphor.
We never accumulate hair.
You know, you got more
we
hair.
just lose it.
Yeah, I know, the Brazilian wax.
What do you think of Brooklyn Beckham's photography?
You know, I don't know it at all, but I think that he's been pretty lucky to be exposed to so much as he has, so he must be good. Even though I got very worried because he did do a campaign for Burberry when I was working for them, and I thought, oh my God, this is my new competition, and he was 15.
Yes.
Do you think that with the rise of Instagram and social media that there's ever going to be such a thing as peak photography?
Peak photography?
So there's this concept of peak stuff and people being, you know, there's too much consumption.
Too much of it.
And so with photography, and you hear about brands like Miu Miu's paying millions for people to manage their social media accounts, and Kendall Jenner's getting paid £250,000 for one Instagram post. Is there
really?
a point where
I
people
must
get...
put my prices up.
Who is being paid 250,000?
I want that.
Well,
I have 3 million followers, and you guys have to follow me more.
How many
No,
followers
you
do
know,
you have?
3.3 million.
Well, come
Please
on.
don't faint. No, you know, Instagram is interesting. I think that people are not so obsessed with photography, they're obsessed with themselves. Because what is everybody doing? You know, it's all about them. But there's nothing wrong with that. My mother carried a camera for years, and all her friends said to her, oh my God, we can see where Mario got that thing. And she was like, my friends don't understand anything. I've never taken a picture. I take my camera, give it to the waiter. Can you take a picture of me? And I thought that was great because I had moved, so she could send me the pictures, and I knew her whole wardrobe.
Hi. So I'm just wondering, which of your experiences have you found the most surprising, and who have you worked with that's just sort of disappointed you based on expectations?
Ooh. I'm always asked that, but I'm too diplomatic. I'm South American. But you know, it's very interesting because we mentioned Anna Wintour before, and I have to say she is probably one of the best editors I've ever met because she's constantly sending me on assignments that I'm like, Anna, I'm all about glamour, and you're sending me to, you know, I don't know, the trashiest place, or I don't know, the place that, why are you sending me here? And it always surprises me, and I come back and say, thank you, because you've made me see something new. So I do give it to her for that. She has enhanced my life enormously by constantly surprising me with assignments she gives to me that I wouldn't have thought were for me.
Yes, next. Yeah.
How am I doing?
Very well.
Very well, yeah. Do you have a favorite body part to photograph?
The bum.
I mean the mouth.
The bum.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Do you think the Cubans are the biggest bums?
I don't know, the Brazilians do pretty well too. I love it in Brazil that they have names for the shapes of the body. So you can be a pear woman, or an apple woman, or a banana woman. I mean, like, which would you like? I should do a competition. Who would you like to be? Pear? Aubergine?
Pear? Yeah. Aubergine. I think it's camel's nose or something. Go on.
Did you ever feel like you had doubts in your own taste in photography, or change?
Every
or wanted
day.
to change?
I mean, you know, insecurity is the main drive for anybody to carry on working, because the moment you believe that you're something is the beginning of the end. And I can tell you I have too many insecurity moments, even though they're balanced with huge security moments, you know, but yes, I doubt a lot my taste.
When was the last time you destroyed your work and said, I can't have it, I got to do it again?
Well, we can, because there's too much money involved. You know, we must bring those goods in, because if not, we're canceled. You know, it's really funny. I've been doing this for 30 well, I started in 1980, 36 years, and I'm often saying to my team, I need to, prove that I'm good, and they're like, what are you talking about? But, for us, you never are good. That's the secret, really, that we are not good because there's so much that you see that others do that are better and that we can learn from. So it's endless.
One.
Do you think the artificial intelligence will change the landscape of photography?
I guess so, no, because so many things are changing anyhow in our world. But I think that I don't know. Photography is documenting something, so I think it'll always be there one way or another to document, because it's the easiest way to pass on information, to pass on knowledge, history. I don't know. Maybe something new will come. What
But
will it be?
do you think, like that lady has said, that now the image has become so pervasive in the world? I mean, the number of photographs or images taken in the last 5 years or 10 years must have increased by billions. And the natural inclination is to think that that must dilute the concentrated good ones. But I rather think that is exactly the other way around.
Of course, because people now know how difficult it is to do a good picture.
Yes.
So when you see a good one, you really appreciate it.
Yes.
I hope.
Good.
Hi, I was just curious to know, is there a particular light in a particular location that really just speaks to you deeply?
I spent years doing daylight pictures here in England, and an editor once said to me, how can you be doing, I was with Naomi in the studio, it was 3 o'clock in the afternoon in the east of London, and the editor said to me, I don't understand how you can be getting that picture when I'm here in the room and I can't see the girl. It was dark and it was Naomi, but at the end of the day, I think daylight is the most beautiful light there is. I've tried to do pictures with any light, with a traffic light, because I believe you need to have range, and you can't say to a client, oh, it's 4 o'clock, I can't do any more pictures. So I've tried to learn, but I've directed my career or my life in a way that I go to the light. So I travel every 4 days somewhere that there is light.
But how about
but then I do my snaps that are like the paparazzi type pictures that people do like a lot, which are just with my little camera and a flash. But I do prefer daylight, I think, as for a photograph.
But where in the north they have what do you call them? Daylight all day. So why don't you stay there in Norway?
Please. It's
The whole of
cold.
July and August.
I'm thinking of going
winter,
south.
whatever you call it, winter, summer, or whatever.
It's
daylight.
really funny. I've been coming to this country for 40 years, I think. And it's funny. I want to be English, but I'm not English. I'm South American. And, I need the heat. I need to be tan. I need to, feel the sun on me.
Yes. And you live in Notting Hill, don't you?
Yeah.
Well, there it is. Oh, sorry, go on.
Mario, hi. I wonder if you've ever failed to complete an assignment because you didn't like a celebrity or something didn't go according to plan or you didn't like the end result.
Never.
He told you it's the money. Listen.
No, it's the achievement. I believe, I don't like to let people down. And when somebody trusts you on something and they put a lot of effort, I don't know. I believe in solutions. I know that people in our business freak out because they wanted this and they didn't get this. I'm like, no. Okay, I wanted sun, there's no sun. Okay, I'll do it with candles. I went to Scotland once. I don't know how people, it's beautiful Scotland, but how can you go to Scotland for a shoot when it rains and rains and rains? So I went and did a job, and for 3 days, it just rained all day long. And I couldn't do the picture. I was for one frozen. I was wearing the motorbike outfit of the delivery guy. I asked him, please lend me because I'm so cold. And so I decided, okay, we have no lights. And I bought 200 candles. I was with Stella Tennant, took her inside and lit it with candles. I felt a genius.
Yeah, go on. Oh, sorry, go on.
Hi, Mario. So I'm just wondering, when you work, do you always stick to the same people, or you like trying different artists?
You know, I like trying because I think, I mean, I was just accused that I hung on too much to my clique. But I have to say, when you have a team, you know, there's so many insecurities to go through in that day that you need to feel almost protected by your people, you know, people that tell you the truth. I like editors that are ruthless and that tell me that's horrible, that's bad, you know. I was once at a job and the client said to me, oh my God, at lunchtime, he said, I'm really sorry we booked you, that editor, because she's horrible to you. And I said, no, she's my team. I've been working with her for 10 years every day.
Hello, hi. My name is Bai, and my question is about this book.
A great
yes.
book.
And if I remember correctly, it was in 2013 that you created this foundation called Mate. And it was so great that what you do for your home country, that you try to preserve the heritage and the traditional dressing. And I actually personally really try to do the same thing for my for China. Like I have this heritage from southern China.
Are you famous?
Sorry?
Are you famous?
No.
Are you successful?
No. Yeah, I got what you mean. But yeah, for someone like unsuccessful and not famous like me, but I also want to do some contribution. Like, what advice you would give to?
Well, you know, it's very interesting. I think that the best advice that I could give anybody is follow your dream, because when I started doing these pictures that you talk about, Alta Moda, they are the traditional costumes of a region in Peru called Cusco. It's where you go when you want to go to Machu Picchu, it's in the mountains. Peru has the biggest collection of costumes because we celebrate parties and everything has a different way of dressing. And in Peru, they sort of look down at people dressed like that in an everyday life. And when I did this collection of photographs, people around me were doubtful that they would be successful. And you know, people love them. It's so interesting how you think something is not going to work and then it becomes the most amazing thing, no? And I think documenting your traditions and whatever is yours, even though maybe for people, I don't know, when I came to England being Peruvian, it was Paddington Bear, the closest thing, you know, Paddington Station. I was like, no, Heathrow Airport. But, you know, it's interesting how even though we probably could be looked down, I believed in myself, and now we're looked up. I'm tall, but that helps.
Go on.
I would like to understand what is your main motivation. I mean, it's quite obvious that there's a lot of money involved in this industry.
You know, no, it's not money at all. Money, I mean, I love money, don't get me wrong. I need to help people to help me. I need, you know, to eat is very important. And I do need money for some things, but it's not that my drive is not money. My drive is, I believe we have a possibility to achieve something. You know, they say that humans use 7% of their brain. I want to use 7.1%. I want to excel in what I do. You know, I want to feel I conquered this, because when I started being a photographer, I told a lot of people I'm going to be a fashion photographer, and every single person close to me and not close laughed. Why? Because I was Peruvian and I didn't know anything about fashion. But there you go. I excelled, you know, and I guess that's my drive. I think that there's always space to grow. And yeah, I'm going to be huge. Watch this path.
If you only have one day before the end of the world and you've got 10 shots in the camera, where would you go and take your last 10 photographs?
I mean, I should say Peru because that's my country, but I think I would go to Brazil. Rio de Janeiro, the movement, the nudity, the bodies, the bums.
That's why you're obsessed with, what's that supermodel called?
Well, I have no bums. It's interesting. We're always obsessed with what we don't have, no? I mean, I say to people it's really chic to not have a bum because every clothes look better. No, it's not true.
Well, it's true. I mean, we
Something.
always desire what we don't have, except for the rich.
Well, I always wanted blonde hair that would fly in the wind, and I had curly hair that a hurricane could go by and It didn't move.
Yes,
And
so
here, there's so many blonde people, no?
I think they all died, probably. They're trying to impress you. Who has got natural blonde
Well,
hair?
I have to say, if we start a dye hair company, you know, a product, we would be very, very wealthy.
Who is a natural blonde here? You see, not one.
No, Jan is
One.
blonde and he's natural.
Yes.
She's blonde.
You are not blonde. I've known you for 20 years. Such a liar. Next.
Mario, have any of your projects or assignments come into conflict with your kind of artistic or moral goals ever, and how did you deal with that?
Not, well, you know, I'm an inclusive person, so I like everything. You know, I like everybody, every color, every shape, I don't know, I think that you can find something in everything. So I'm easy in that case, you know, I can get into everything. But I wouldn't say that I've ever had a problem, because I trained my business to work around my likings too. You know, I work with, my editors are all people that I'm very close to. Somebody was asking me if I tried new people. I do, but the truth of the matter is that I work with Lucinda Chambers for the last 35 years. I did my tests with her when I was trying to get work, and I still work with her today, you know. So I've built relationships that I can guide it and excite them about things that I like. So, no.
If I gave you an assignment to photograph one of your dreams, so you wake up and then you've got to replicate that, would you think that that was interesting?
You know, my dreams are pretty scary.
That's what I mean.
Well, can you imagine that when I was at school, I dreamed every day that I flew. I don't know, maybe many people have that dream that they fly, no? And I would go to school and tell people that I flew to school, that, you know, and I sort of had this dream that we had a tunnel from my house to the school. So I told all my friends I went to, and they came and asked my mom, "Is it true you have a tunnel?" And I was, "What is your imagination like?" So no, not
Mother
dreams.
is still alive.
No, she passed away last year. It's very funny losing your mother, because I realized I did so much to please her, and all of a sudden.
And she was pleased at the opening.
Oh yes,
May.
of course.
Yes,
You saw
I
her there.
saw
She
her,
was
yes.
like thrilled. And it's funny because all of a sudden you feel like, ooh, why am I doing this really? Who am I trying to please? But anyhow, I'm sure somewhere she's looking after me and saying, well done.
All right. Oh.
Oh, wait. Hi. Has the way you, the transition from film to digital, has that changed the way you take photographs, and how do you work with it?
You know, it's really funny because today there is a huge return to analog film. All the young photographers seem to be into it. I found that transition to digital a dream, because all of a sudden you take a picture, you see it on the screen, you see what's wrong, and you correct it. When I started, we used to take a picture. There wasn't even Polaroid when I started. We had to send the film. The film that I used at the time, you had to send to Kodak and wait for 5 days. And those 5 days were a nightmare, because you didn't know whether you had it or not. And often I didn't have but one picture that worked. You know, like I don't know, I was pretty useless to start with. I think I am pretty useless as a photographer. I mean, if you give me a camera, I'm like, oh my God, what do I do? Nothing works. I forgot to take the cap. People are telling me, Mario, the cap's on the camera. And I'm like, you know. But
not even a single reflex.
But I have taste, maybe, or an eye, or something that I can say, you know. But I love digital, because you can enhance things, you can change things, you can correct things on the spot. Yeah. So I would never go back.
I mean, it's not the technique, it's what you choose as the final product. I mean, people think that you cheat. I mean, they don't understand. It's not, if you don't have the eye, if you don't have the taste, you would choose the wrong photograph.
But
in
you
fact,
know
it's
that
worse.
The interesting thing about, I think I am pretty lucky to have been in film and then go to digital, because what film offered you is that there was a range of films. There were like 10 different films that we could use, let's say, you know, the different ectochromes in different speeds, or in different, what do you call it? ASAs or something, yeah. And sorry, I'm like, I should be known these things. And there were, you know, different choices. So when we stopped using film and we went to digital, we knew what we were getting in film, and we tried to take digital to there. But for people that are starting today, when you get a picture in digital format and it's raw, and you don't know where to take it, it must be really difficult. So that's why people, I think, are going to film, because at least you know you're going to get this sensitivity, this density, this grain, this color that already comes with the film. And I think that to go to digital without having all that background must be pretty difficult, because I tell my lab, I wanted to look like Kodachrome, I wanted to look like Ektachrome 400, I wanted to look push, I wanted, you know, because I used that before. Whilst maybe if you're starting afresh, you don't know where to go, and that raw looks pretty raw.
Can you stand up? You look as if you've had quite a lot of makeup. Do you think he looks exotic?
I have a question. So basically, Kim Kardashian's paper magazine broke the internet. Would you consider recreating or do something similar in the future?
Sorry, what did she do?
Kim Kardashian's paper magazine.
Paper magazine.
The bum picture that broke the internet. So I was wondering if you would recreate it or do something similar in the future.
You know, it's funny. I think those things sort of happen. I don't know that you can actually calculate for it to have that effect eventually. But
have you photographed her bum?
I have.
From what angle?
You know, she's an incredibly nice girl. I never met her before, but I was at a party and I took a picture of her bum. And because the waist is very, very little, you know, and the shape is perfect. So, and I was worried of putting the picture of her bum in a thing. So I called her and asked her. She was like, no, I'd love it if you'd run it, you know. And it's so interesting. I have to tell you something that I think that the Kardashians have done is that they've changed. They are the precursors of us changing the way we look at things. You know, we look at many things different because they've made them right or cool or interesting. And I think that we are going through a very key moment in life where our ideas of aesthetics and what's right and what's not are challenged because we're so bombarded by different cultures coming into our life and becoming the cool cultures. So rappers have shown us how to look at jewelry in a different way, how to look at ways of dressing, how to look at proportions that we probably thought were not good, and just by looking at them more than 1 or 2 or 3 times, we think they're actually great. And I think she did something great for women because she gave women that belief that, yeah, if you have a round bum, what's the problem? You know, enjoy it.
Yeah, but it's not a round. I mean, it's enormous. I mean, you say, I mean, it's like a couple of Ayers rocks. I don't understand why you think they were
enormous
small.
can be great, you know.
Well, not vertical. Anyway. Next.
Hi, Mario. I'm just wondering if there's anyone in history you'd love to take a photo of and how you would have taken that picture.
Sorry, where are you?
Oh,
stand up. Stand up.
So what were you saying? If there's somebody
if there was anyone in history you'd like to take a photo of and how you would have taken that picture.
Somebody dead.
Yeah. Well, still alive.
Of course, all the goddesses of the silver screen, you know, from Marlene Dietrich to Greta Garbo. Wouldn't that be amazing? Marilyn Monroe, any of them, yeah. And maybe some of the guys. There were some guys interesting. Cary Grant, a lookalike. No.
Stuart Granger.
Yeah, and I would have really. I mean, I don't want to live in that time because I think it was pretty hostile. But
if you have one shot of Marilyn Monroe, what would it be? Her tits or her bum?
Her bum.
Her bum.
I'm consistent, you know. But I love anything round. Just, you know.
Full moons. All right.
Well, you know that they say that the most beautiful girls have a round face. The moon-shaped face. They, you know, it's the most considered to be the most the faces that people react the most.
Who has the roundest face of all?
What
Humpty Dumpty. All right. Next question. Go on.
So.
Hi, Mario. You have inspired so many people to become photographers, but it's increasingly hard now to become a photographer. What advice would you give to students?
I don't want to give any advice to anybody to take my work away, that's for sure. But I will give bad advice then, no. No, I think that, you know, the interesting thing about photography is that when I started taking pictures, the photographer that was the photographer was Bruce Weber. So he had an aesthetic. He liked certain, you know, American built-up boys, wholesome girls, and I didn't. That wasn't my aesthetic. I liked skinny guys, cool girls. I mean, more decadence than wholesome. I think in a funny way. I like to party at the time a lot, so I really like people that partied. And so in order to make my, because most people try to do the Bruce Weber picture, you know, and get those guys and get those girls and try, and I realized I can't do that because that's not me. So I tried to find in the streets, because no model agency had the models that I wanted, so I had to look for them in the street and try and establish my taste. And I would say, you know, it's difficult because when you think that nobody wants that, you don't do what nobody wants. But that's what you should be doing probably, because when they get bored of that Bruce Weber, which thank God they got bored at one moment and I came in, but you know, that's your opportunity to come in. That's one advice. And two advice, work every single summer. Don't ever take a holiday, because that's the moment when photographers are taking holidays and people still need photographers and you can get a booking.
I think it's luck. I mean, I was talking to Julian Fellows yesterday, and he had his break in Downton because 5 other people turned down the project, including Tom Stoppard and so forth. So he got it. And in your case, I suppose Gucci, with the fortune.
Oh, if I would tell you the amount of people said to me when I would go, you know, I went in London at the time, we had to show portfolios. They were big, the bigger, the more impressive. So we all had like enormous portfolios with 5 pages in the whole thing. They weighed so much, I had to take the bus. That line, what was the line I took at the time?
Number 13.
No, 50 something, I think it was. Because anyhow, it was raining, you go to the appointment, they make you wait half an hour, and then you go and show them your book and they tell you, you will never be a photographer. And I was like, why? And they grade my pictures? They were terrible actually, but you know, it's interesting trying to...
Lucky breaks are very important.
And perseverance. You know, I remember, I didn't have the money to have a phone in the flat. You know, I lived, I've said this often, I lived not far from here. I lived in the Old Charing Cross Hospital. It was a doser's home, but we managed to get a floor, the X-ray department, and we made that our apartment for me and my 5 friends from Peru. And we couldn't afford a phone, so we got a phone box, you know, where you had to put the coins. And it was terrible because I would call people 50 times to get that appointment, because we call people, can I come and show you my book? And do, excuse me, you don't have that today. With lucky you, I tell you, we put the coin in. A lot of people would hang up when you do that. And of course, I had 1 coin. Thank God I had the key to the phone, wasn't I? Could get that coin back out. But you know, it's interesting. And I mean, I had to call people 100 times to go and see them for them to tell me, you'll never make it. So you've got to believe in you. I was lucky my mom and dad were so supportive. Maybe they couldn't send me money, but they always said to me, you'll make it, you'll make it, you'll make it. I ended up believing. My mother said, you're great, and I sort of, you know, you end up believing you are great. So perseverance.
Sorry, just myself. Just a quick question in terms of your work as well. How much of your work is psychology?
I do think often I am like a doctor. Next. Take your clothes off. No. But I mean, we are psychologists for sure, you know, because we need to deal with people's agendas, people's personalities. And you know, in a shoot, we're never me and the model. It's me, the hairdresser, the makeup artist, the model. And you never know what issues people have had the day before, the morning. Oh my God, my hair, I look terrible. You do. And you know, so you have to gauge people and, no, it's great. You look, oh my God, you look amazing. You know, so therapy.
Sorry, just to follow up. What I find quite interesting, you have obviously a very striking personality and a very embracing, very warm personality. Is that something you would say came to you quite naturally, or has
Yeah, my mother said to me when I was young, we were on a trip with my family, and she was like, how do you do it to talk to every single person in a restaurant? I like talking. And I do it in 5 languages, can you imagine? And I can sing too. And dance. I don't know if you've seen my videos.
English, Peruvian.
I do, well, English, Spanish, French, Portuguese, Italian.
Very good.
And I can dance any dance you ask me to dance. And it's really funny.
Because of Anna Wintour.
You know what? A photographer is a psychologist, but he's a performer. Because you need to, like, put everybody in. You remember Little Britain? Look into my face, you're under. You will never, and that's what we do, you know. We hypnotize everybody in the studio to do what we want them to do.
But
Like
you're very lucky. You've got a charming face. You've got a sort of baby face. You can charm anybody off their pants. Go on.
You've answered this a little. Hi, Mario. By the way, hi. You've answered this a bit, but how do you deal with difficult people when you're working?
Performing, singing, dancing. I mean, I do anything. I tell you, it's really funny. But I arrive to the studio and I have to work out how do I break the ice. And one good thing about breaking the ice is making fun of yourself. But it has happened to me that the celebrities that I photograph say to me, Mario, the shoot is about me, not you. Madonna.
Have you ever been seduced?
I like
in a shoot?
seducing.
I know, but I mean, do you often get models trying to seduce you during or after the shoot?
Look at it. At least. I get this day and night.
And how about you trying to seduce them?
No, you know, what is, of course I did when I was young, but it gets pretty weird trying to seduce somebody 40 years younger than you.
Go on.
Hi, Mario. I'm just curious about your opinion of the new Vogue editor-in-chief and what you think about Lucinda
Which
Chambers.
Vogue? Oh, British Vogue.
Yeah, British Vogue.
Edward. I think he's very talented. I mean, I hope he books me. Maybe he won't. But, and I think change is great. You know, I mean, I think for Lucinda, it's so sad. I consider her one of the greatest talents that there is in the business, you know. And it's really funny because, I mean, I've been working with her from the beginning, right? And I remember that I said to her, I want to do a test. And she arrived with lots of ribbons or material. And she wrapped up the girl. I mean, I was like, how many things are you going to put on that girl? But it's so interesting how she has a way of seeing things that I just never see it like her until it's ready. But having said that, she's been at Vogue for, sorry, correct me, 30-something years, 36 years. So, you know, I was at Burberry 19 years, and the day they told me, we're not going to work with you anymore, people thought, oh my God. And I was like, what? I've already been here 19 years, a long time. No? So we need to be able to move. I think that there are moments for everything. And there's moments when you're the young person getting into the business. There's the moments when you're the happening person. Then there's the moments you become that upper top thing. And you have to prepare yourself for the moments when you become the out ones. And you know, thank God today we have energy and we go on and on and on. I'm sure that many photographers are like, oh my God, when is that guy going to drop? You know, because I've been at it for a long time. But I think I have to be honest to myself and not pretend that I can be the hot thing forever. And we need to pass to other levels where we can teach, we can pass on what we know, and enjoy those moments. Anyhow, talking about Lucinda, I'm sure that somebody will snatch her in a second. I'm really worried because I need her for me. She's been my supporter for so long.
Go on.
Hi, Mario. I just have a question. Do you have a set routine that you go through before any of your jobs, and has it changed over time?
You know, years ago, I used to go into the bathroom, you know, and say to myself, Mario, be strong and give your opinion, because I was so intimidated by all the people I work with. I mean, I worked for a while with French team, and they all sounded so chic and looked so fabulous that I was like, oh my God, should I say my idea or not? Or should I just do their idea? You know, so that was my routine, get strength. Nowadays, I do sit-ups, push-ups, all those things to look better than as best as we can. But I guess there is a routine. You know, I arrive to the studio, say hello to everybody, eating, you know, eating. And then I sit with the hairdresser, discuss what he's gonna do, sit with the makeup artist, discuss what she's gonna do, sit with the set designer, the lighting, the stylist. I look at everything before I even take my camera out, you know, because I have to like, and lately I've been talking a lot about nails, because nobody understands the importance of nail manicures, you know, and they're like, oh, please, you can get a manicure. Manicures wherever we're going. And I'm like, no, you don't understand how important a nail can be. I mean, for me, maybe not for everybody, but I think that if the nail is pointy, square, it has a tip or not, it has white, I mean, you know, French manicure, whatever, all those things say something. So to me, I look at everything. And then the makeup artist sometimes hate me because I'm sitting next to him and I'm like, that line's too thick. You need to thin that line. And you know, the person that is there, the actress is like, no, you know, please, how do you know? And I know. It's so weird how I know. So that's my routine.
All right, 2 more questions.
Hi, Mario. My question is, so you've taken so many iconic photographs that are so well known in the public, and some of them, I guess, when you take them, you know they're going to be well received, so kind of Kate and Will's engagement shoots and photos like that. Are there any that you've taken that you're surprised by the reaction of the public or how well they are?
For sure. You know, I mean, it's so interesting photography because as there are those pictures that you say that are going to be iconic and you sort of know them, but iconization is also done through repetition. You know, every time there's an article, we put that picture in to make that picture more known. But I'm just doing a show next year in the National Portrait Gallery in Washington. It's my first big show like that in this part of the world, and they're curating the exhibition. A lot of my exhibitions I've curated myself, and I go through my pictures. I'm very tough with myself. I know that there's a conflict between magazine and a wall, because a photograph you do for a magazine needs to be consumed quickly. You need to capture the attention quickly, you need to leave it quickly, and it needs to exist for a limited amount of time because you need that person to want to throw away that magazine to buy next month. If you make that picture too lingering, what about September, October, November, December issues? You know, we need to keep it going. And a picture that goes on a wall needs to have longevity, because if not, you know, you need to be able to enjoy it every day that you go by, or you enjoy a little bit, and it needs to have time, especially to get to a museum. And I was really surprised by the curation of the people of the museum, because not only do they want the work to be current to the last possible moment, they don't want to look at what I did 10 years ago, and it's a sign of the times, no? Things don't last. They want new. And I was really surprised at what they chose, because I wouldn't have chosen it, and I realized that it's very important to have the eye of somebody else on what you do.
But the 2002 National Portrait Gallery exhibition was the highest grossing audience of that gallery in history.
I know, can you imagine, for a very, when I curated it, yeah. It was an interesting show because I collect art, I buy art, but I'm a big consumer, you know, I need to buy all the time something. So I hang in my house salon style. I cram everything in and I look every day, there's a corner, great, I can buy something. So when I did the exhibition, I wanted to do my show like that, because I thought, what will be the best way for people to have the same sensation when they look at a picture on the wall like they have when they look at it in the magazine. When you look at something in a magazine, your eye is concentrating on this space, no? So to translate it to the museum, to the wall, you need to make it the size that is the equivalent to the distance from a magazine to the eye, from the wall to the eye. And I decided to do my work huge, big, so that people could only look at that picture when they look. And when I went to hang it, I said, I'm going to paint the rooms green and blue like my house, and I'm going to hang these enormous things salon style. And my friend that helped me do the design of the exhibition said to me, oh, they'll never let you do that, because at the National Portrait Gallery, the director only likes little pictures in a row. And I was like, well, I'm not doing this show. And he was like, this is the National Portrait Gallery, you've got to do this show. Can you imagine that when I lived back in the Charing Cross Hospital, that was our place that we could go in for free as an entertainment. We couldn't go to the cinema, no money, but we could go to the National Portrait Gallery. So to show there was a huge accolade. But I noticed that that was one thing that helped it, and the other thing is that my show was about all the people that everybody knew who they were married with, what film they had done, how many children they had, what hairdos had they done, who was their lover, you know, the people that became we live, not anymore so much today, it's changed, but 10 years ago, we all lived the lives of Jennifer Aniston, Gwyneth Paltrow, Madonna. We knew everything about them. And the show was about them. So, of course, the people come into these rooms. Enormous things, color, very, very bright colors. And they knew everybody. So it was like going home. People were desperate to get into the museum. The museum had, in that period, 500,000 more people than in the history of the museum ever, you know.
So why would you allow a curator, not yourself, to do this show in New York?
Because I think that there is something valid about somebody else looking at your work and telling you this is good, because I'm too judgmental, and the experience interferes with the image for me. You know, if that day, oh, this person wasn't very nice, and oh, the lunch wasn't great, or, you know, all those things affect me. And so all of a sudden, you don't rate that picture enough. But the person that comes with a fresh eye and that doesn't really know and has a history of art and knows what artists have done, they might look at it and may be able to tell me something that I don't know about my work. I mean, people that have written articles for the catalogs of the museums have really compared me to many people that I didn't even remember I'd seen them, you know, but it's so interesting to see other people's views.
Well, we wish you well. Let's have a last question.
Hi, Mario. I was wondering if you had an opinion on cultural appropriation within high fashion, as obviously the aforementioned Made series shows that cultural heritage is a matter that is close to your heart. However, oftentimes in high fashion, we find designers copying tribal designs, and if you find that's just the way design develops, or if you have an opinion on that.
I mean, there has been something about this lately.
Cultural appropriation.
No,
You're
it's
so
just that
politically correct. You shouldn't be in the audience.
Lately, we have had a lot of conversations about that in the press, no? Because all of a sudden, remind me who it was that did that. Oh, it was Hermes, no? No, but there was one really big lately, which was the boomerang, no? Chanel. They did a boomerang, and there was this whole thing that the boomerang came from the Aborigine. Is that right? Right. And, you know, I think that that is really sad for me, because at the end of the day, maybe by doing that object, they make us look at more Aborigine work. I mean, when my favorite designer of all time, Saint Laurent, and he did that to the world over, you know, but he made us also look at cultures, he made us look at different colors, different ways of doing, by getting inspired. And I don't know, I tell you, if I were to tell you the amount of campaigns I looked that are exactly to the campaign I did last season, but I think at the end of the day, you have to think, God, how great, I'm inspiring somebody, you know, and I don't feel, I mean, I do feel bad for a fashion company copying a design of another fashion label because they have small exposure and the other company has bigger exposure, so they appropriate that. That I don't find good at all. I think that, you know, you want something, pay for it. I mean, I find my pictures used in certain countries without anybody asking me. And when I call them and tell them, hey, you owe me to how much was it, 73 million? They're like, no. And I was like, yes. You know, I don't agree with that.
But in the history of art is actually the juxtaposition of different cultures that actually generate some
I
of
think
those
that's magical,
extraordinary things.
yeah, magical.
It's not appropriation, it's sharing, it's having a new eye. I mean, it is absurd to think that. And I mean, look at the tango. When it was invented in Argentina, it was nothing. And it took Paris to make it to understand that that was fashionable. And that is just a tiny example of what some of these politically correct people call appropriation. And this is absurd. But You know, if you talk about Yves Saint Laurent, he was credited with being the first fashion person to put women in suits. But if you looked at Mao Zedong, he did that about 30 years before him. Anyway, look, listen, we've gone over the time, but that's because Mario is so interesting. Will you please all join me in thanking Mario Testino?
Thank you.